Heidi ho there, friends and neighbors. Bobby here today. Hey folks, today we're going to be working on a little paint and body project. We got a Nissan Altima here that has a nice little dent here in the rear quarter. We're going to try to save this quarter. As you can see, it is pretty mangled up. Vehicle hit right here in the quarter area. Kind of a low speed accident, but darn sure done a lot of damage. One thing I'm looking at now, I've got the panels out here on the inside the trunk, and we have like some ribbing here that's actually bent into, so we really got to get this part here pushed back out. This is where the bumper attaches, so we want to get all that pulled back as close to factory position as we can. So we got a lot of work here to do, friends. Right now we're working on pulling out this lens, see what kind of other access we can get here, and we will just kind of take you through the steps as we do it. Okay friends, after about 10 minutes of me doing some ninja body work, I've got this dent pulled out, as you can see. No, actually this took a lot more than 10 minutes, friends. Actually I worked on it a little bit last weekend. Customer had to take the car back during the week, that's why I didn't grind all the paint back. And we're actually got it shaped about where we want it now. We're going to go ahead and undo the bumper. We're going to let it hang down. We're going to grind this paint back, and we're going to start doing some body filler. I think we've got everything shaped pretty good to where we won't have to put any more than about an 1/8 inch of body filler in any one spot on this fender here. So we really took the time to try to get as close as we could. One of the things that we used here, I took some pieces of cardboard, went to the other side of the car, had different points on here, measured diagonally and horizontally where I held this up to see if it was the shape of the other side of the car. We flip it over, come back over on this side, and we kind of got everything about where we want it, okay? That's one little creative tool you can use to kind of make sure you get your body work right. You can kind of make you a little contour gauge out of a piece of cardboard. And some of the tools that we used a 2x4, because I don't know if you remember in the first little clip, we had a brace on the inside right down here near the bumper line, and we had to put a 2x4 in there and really knock the crap out of it with a 4-pound sledgehammer to straighten that brace up on the inside. We also, this here was all pulled in too. One of the things that we done, we actually pried out on this lip here, and we got this shape here back correctly too. Couple spots on this car I had to drill holes and use a pull rod. You know, around this line right here, it was all pulled in. I had to drill, put the pull rod in there, and actually I've kind of got them hammered back down now, but anyway, you drill them with an 1/8 inch hole and you can work it and pull things out. We had to do a little pull work up in this area too, and one right here. We will actually solder those up once we get all the paint ground off on it, and we'll start putting some body filler in this thing and see if we can get some primer on this thing by the end of today. Oh friends, I forgot to add 2 more tools that I used mainly. Was a little body hammer and a dolly, okay, holding the dolly on the inside, using a hammer, using the pick side of the hammer to shrink some of the metal back into place. Just a lot of little metal work to try to get it pulled back out. So it just takes a little time, a little bit of patience. Okay guys, hey, we're back here. We're actually getting ready to put some filler on here in just a little bit. We went ahead and took the bumper completely off out of our way because we don't want to get no real coarse sand scratches in our bumper. We only got one little spot on it that we had to feather edge. We've got all this here, paint removed with some 36 grit. Notice all of our little holes that we had here before, we filled them with solder, we ground them down so we don't have to worry about body filler oozing through there. Right up here we feathered edge with some 150 grit, blended the paint back over here, and we're getting ready to use this lightweight body filler, and we got a couple of spreaders here. We're going to mix that up. We're going to cut this down first of all with some 36 grit by hand on a board sander, and then we'll probably show you a couple clips while we're doing that. So we're getting ready to get started, friends. Okay guys, hey, we got one quick skim of lightweight body filler on here. We let it set up just long enough to where we could cut it down with our 36 grit file board paper on this little file board, okay? And notice something here. We went every different direction, 45-degree angle here, across this way, and straight across. Notice we hit some metal right in here, so we kind of slowed down. We're a little low right in here, we can tell. We're a little bit low right in here, not a whole lot. Probably, there's very thin layer on here. Probably this end up being like an 1/8 inch thick, which is fine. I'm okay with that. And then we're gonna a little bit low back here, and we're gonna go ahead and skim it now before we go any further. Should be able to skim it one more time, and we'll get it pretty close to where we can go ahead and block it all the way out. Okay, folks, hey, we finally got our lightweight body filler where we want it at. And I can take my hand, I can run anywhere across here. I don't feel any low spots, any high spots, or anything. All this feels really nice. So we're actually, we've went over our 36 grit scratches with some 80 grit, but there's still some 36 grit scratches in here. I've even worked on this line really good. I think I got this body line here looking pretty good too. What we're going to do, we're going to clean all this off really good. We've got to run back to the paint supply place. I'm going to go ahead and remove this pinstripe. I'm going to DA some of this back a little bit further because I know I'm going to have primer that's going to blow up in this area. And we'll probably go ahead and red Scotch-Brite the whole sail panel and everything that will be clear coating in the future. And we're going to go ahead and probably skim this with a catalyzed spot putty. It's kind of like body filler as well, except it's a little finer and it'll fill in any pinholes. We'll actually skim the whole surface and we will block it with 80 and then finish it off in 180 before we ever put any primer on it. And then we'll probably put at least 3 coats of a sandable primer. We'll block it. We will probably prime it at least one more time. We want to make sure this thing is free of any coarse sand scratches. We don't want anything shrinking back in later. We want this to look good for the life of the car. So we will continue on and we'll show you our progress. Okay guys, now what we've done, we went ahead and skimmed the whole surface of our body work with a polyester glazing putty that is catalyzed. I'm going to show it to you right quick. This stuff works great. It's made by Evercoat, and you mix a hardener in it just like you do a lightweight body filler. This stuff is a little bit finer material. It'll fill in any pinholes and stuff. It's a little bit easier to sand. We put just the thinnest coat on here as possible because we're trying to fill in those 36 grit sand scratches that are still there and any pinholes in the body filler. So we're going to go ahead and let this sit up good. We will block it down with some 80 and see where we go from there. Maybe even finish it off with 180 if that's all we need, but we'll probably have to skim it a second time. So that's what we're working on now, guys. Okay guys, hey, we're back here. We've got all this here sanded down, and it's we blocked it with 80 grit. Then we went back over it with 180, so we should have nothing worse than a 180 grit scratch in this right here. And here's my son Nathaniel. Say hey, Nathaniel. He's not too happy. Daddy's making him work out here in the garage today. Hey, what we're getting ready to do here though, friends, we've cleaned up all our tools and stuff, got them out of the way. We're gonna take a red Scotch-Brite. Well, first of all, we're gonna wipe this whole surface, this sail panel, all the way over this door. We'll wipe it down with wax and grease remover. Then we're gonna Scotch-Brite probably up to about right here. You know, we're gonna eventually sand all of it, and we will clear this whole panel all the way up, so we won't have to blend no clear lines. But for today, we're gonna Scotch-Brite all this. We're gonna grab the DA one more time, probably with some 220. We're gonna make this go just a little bit further. We're gonna blow primer up in this area, so I just wanna make sure it's a clean and sanded surface that any extra we get. But mainly what we're gonna do is try to get 3 coats of primer on this area today, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, hey, we've masked off the car. We have wiped everything down. We've mixed up our primer. Getting ready to shoot this with some Nason catalyzed 4:1 ratio of paint to hardener ratio. We're gonna go ahead and start shooting this thing. We're gonna try to spray probably 3 coats on here and 3 to 4 coats. So we're gonna let it sit up and we'll block that down later. So here we go. Hey guys, we got about 3 coats on here so far. It's looking pretty good. I still got a little bit mixed up in my gun, so I'm gonna go ahead and spray a couple more on here. And of course, like I say, after this dries good, we'll file board it with some 180, followed up by maybe a little wet sanding with some 220 or so, and then we'll shoot some more primer on it. And then only see one little spot right here that I gotta go back with a little bit of spot putty. I don't think that little imperfection there will sand out. And a couple little spots may sand out in the primer, but we'll glaze putty again. We'll shoot it 3 more coats, and then we should be able to wet sand it with 400 and get this whole panel ready for base coat and clear coat.